Hey Emma,
Yes, Madelyn.
what do you call someone who sweeps through gardens where they're not allowed, stealing flowers and wreaking havoc?
I don't know. What do you call them?
A broom bloom doom raider. Hello, and welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
One for the rhyme this week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a rhyme. That is what it is.
Yeah, it's true. I was just agreeing with you.
You can't give me passive aggressive when I say
I wasn't
true.
being passive aggressive. I was just agreeing with your statement of fact.
Ugh, Gloom Raider over here.
Uh-huh, that's very funny.
There's a lot of words that have an in them, so this is going to be a real goldmine for me this episode.
What other words have an in them? Or you just mean just to rhyme with tomb in general?
Well, yeah.
Okay. I thought you meant like in the words, in the games, there's lots of words with in them. I was like, I can't think of anything besides tomb, but sure. Okay.
No, I just mean in the English language, there are a lot of words that feature the sound that allow me to rhyme.
And as we have established, we are a rhyming podcast.
Yes. Talk This. It's dangerous to podcast alone. We exclusively speak in rhyme. We do it every time.
I feel like we did actually have an episode where we were talking about how titles aren't good unless they rhyme.
Oh, we did. That does ring a bell.
I couldn't tell you where it was.
Rhyming
Probably a
titles
side
are
quest, but it also could very well not be a side quest because gosh knows that we'd never stay on topic for very long.
That is true. Thank you for reminding me of that, you.
Okay, we can stop now.
Hey, I'm your no longer rhyming host, Madelyn.
I'm your other host, Emma. Is anyone still there?
Hello? It's alright, you've got a fast forward button. You're the Zoom Raider here.
Oh my god.
This week, you might have picked up on the fact that we're going to be talking about one of the all-time classic video game series, Tomb Raider.
Yes.
And then we're also going to be talking about more recent, less classic video game, Bendy and the Ink Machine.
Yes.
For which I had not even, the title did not even sound familiar to me.
That's because Madelyn is out of touch.
I don't spend much time on Twitch, okay? Sue me.
I don't spend very much time on Twitch either, so sue me.
Does that count as a rhyme if we both end in sue me?
No, Madelyn, you can't rhyme words with the same word, okay? Take note, songwriters.
Sometimes you can.
No, you never can.
So, let's get away from this weird couplet world and start talking about a video game that I think is one of the rare ones that you might know from the movie, not the game, if you're not a gamer person.
Mm-hmm.
Tomb Raider. So, Tomb Raider, the first one was released in 1996. If you've heard of the movie Indiana Jones, you pretty much have a good idea of what Tomb Raider is about.
Yeah.
There's no movie called Indiana Jones. I said, if you've heard of the movie series, Indiana
it's
Jones.
Fine. They understood what you meant. Laura's a little bit more, I guess, violent than Indiana Jones. Like, Indiana Jones will go into your ancient homelands and mess stuff up, but he won't, shoot you with dual pistols.
Ooh, I don't think that's true. There's definitely some shooting scenes. I don't think he's laying waste to thousands of people in the same way that Lara probably is, but...
I said specifically dual pistols, though.
Fair enough. Now that you've said that, some kind of, probably not even rabid, just casual Indiana Jones fan is gonna correct us and be like, actually, Dr. Jones wields dual pistols in minutes 63 and 57 seconds in
Makes me a lot more interested in those movies, honestly, though.
Dual pistols.
Dual pistol wielding Indiana Jones.
So Tomb Raider, as you've probably heard of, stars British. She's sort of from an aristocratic family, right? British wealthy woman
Yes.
Lara Croft, who has decided to become an archaeologist and follow in her father's footsteps to steal treasure from tombs by raiding them.
Yeah.
And the first one was released in 1996. It's created by British company, because Lara is British. Lara or Laura?
Lara Croft.
I'm going to switch back and forth throughout, so...
That's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's totally fine when people switch back and forth between Madelyn and Madeline. That's okay.
She's not a real person, Mom.
Wow. Dehumanizing Lara once again.
Just saying.
As if she hasn't been through enough of that already. Anyway, developed by British gaming company Core Design. Originally, it was sort of published by Eidos Interactive, and now it's owned by Square Enix, which I did not know.
Yep.
Where was the Tomb Raider world in Kingdom Hearts 3?
Was it really, published by Eidos?
Yeah.
Like EIDOS?
DOS,
Because I'm
yep.
pretty sure they developed the latest game in the Tomb Raider, Eidos Montreal.
Right, they're owned by Square Enix now.
Oh, I see. But they went from publisher to developer. That's what I'm saying. I guess it's not that weird, but...
It would be a little bit weird, except this game is 20 years old. So
yeah, I guess so.
I don't know if Core Design is still around.
Or maybe, I guess, like, Core Design was a studio that used to be under Eidos, and now Eidos, like, is just one thing or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It surprised me when you said that.
There have been several sort of distinct eras of Tomb Raider, where things have been handed off, basically, due to hitting cliffs of sales and reboots, respectively. So, yeah. Anyway, the first 6 games were this Core Design, Eidos Interactive partnership, and now the sort of modern games that are being released for current systems and etc. Are published by Square Enix. Again, really think this would have been a great Kingdom Hearts world, but whatever. I'll look for it in Kingdom Hearts 4. You're not saying anything. I haven't finished the game. Was it a world?
I'm not saying anything.
Oh, bite me. Okay. So, you probably... I don't know who you are if you're listening to this podcast and you're not super interested in games, but we are happy to have you. That used to be me, so please stick around. But if you haven't heard of Tomb Raider as the game series that's been around now for, I guess, 23 years, 22 and a half years, you've probably heard of it from the movies that starred Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
Or maybe you've heard of it from the more recent movie that starred Alicia Vikander.
Yeah,
That's another
Vikander,
name I don't actually know how to pronounce, but starred her, being Lara Croft and doing adventure things.
The latest movie was actually based on the 2013 reboot of Tomb Raider, though.
Right. Yes. True. However, still, these are the rare examples of video game movies that, while creatively, they didn't receive, like, glowing, stellar, incredible reviews, right? Mm-hmm. They got, like, okay action-adventure reviews, all of them, I think, and they sold, at least Angelina Jolie's, sold super, super well. The first Tomb Raider movie was the highest-grossing video game movie of all time. It was, like, $275 million, from, like, 2001 to 2010. So, if you ever followed our series Watch This, or listen to that long ago now side quest where we debated the merits of video game movies, you'll know that this is sort of the example that proves the rule.
Yeah.
Because, so Tomb Raider is well known for a number of things. If you're into gaming history, right, the original Tomb Raider was really, really groundbreaking in a number of ways. They were really pushing up against what the hardware could do at the time. Because this is, like, original PlayStation generation of consoles, I believe.
Did it come out on the PlayStation? It did.
It did.
It also came out on the Sega Saturn, so...
That tells you all you need to know. Also came out on the Sega Saturn. The what? I don't know. Also came out on something called the N-Gage. The what? I don't know.
I don't know.
But they were really... It's hard to believe this, even just... I'm looking at the poster right now. It's really hard to believe that this game was groundbreaking in terms of its graphics and its construction. However, an action-adventure game, a 3D action-adventure game of this depth and of this complex gameplay and different mechanics and just complexity of world was a pretty huge step forward at the time. It's another one of those games that makes it onto those greatest video games ever lists, which again, we talked about this a couple weeks ago of what are those lists really measuring, but in terms of big steps forward, Tomb Raider certainly deserves a slot on there. So that's neat. And it was more real, again, weird to say, it was more realistic looking than most of the games around at the time. Which, like, what? They're so blocky. But, you know, sure. I believe it. But it's more known, and is this the reason it sold so well? Maybe. For its protagonist, who we've been talking about, British aristocrat turned grave robber, Lara Croft. Specifically for her, like, blocky boobs. So, we talk less frequently these days, but there was a period where we were talking about very frequently just because of the games that we had pulled up, women being represented in games. It's weird to think about, and of course Lara Croft is not, like, the first example of a woman in a game, right?
No.
I mean, duh. But she is one of the first real major examples of a action-adventure game headlined by a woman who is not in a androgynifying suit. Looking at you, Samus.
Oh, Samus. I was like, what specifically are you talking about? I don't know. I was imagining, like, a character, like, with short hair, like, actually in a suit. I was like, what character was that came out before 1996? I want to look at that. But no, I understand what you mean now.
He's, like, space suit.
Yes, yeah.
Maybe we can incorporate that character into our mashup this week.
Sure.
I think that could be a pretty good, strong contender for a mashup protagonist.
Okay.
So, as you might have guessed, listeners, from the Angelina Jolie headlined movies, Lara Croft, again, blocky, pixelated, 1996, in, what was the Sega Saturn. Lara Croft was sort of hailed as this video game sex symbol. Which is wild.
Yeah, she was on, like, the cover of a magazine at some point, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was, but...
Cover Girl, Lara Croft.
Cover Girl.
No, that's not the name of the magazine.
Oh, okay.
It's, like,
yeah, I feel
something.
like I looked it up before the show, and now I can't remember what it was. But it was some, like, major magazine that was, like, damn, she's sexy, though. That was basically the headline.
Which, like, people, go look at her. Like, don't go look at Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie is an attractive woman. No. Go look at these pixelated, blocky... Just go look at this stupid poster for the game. I mean, granted, she's dual-wielding pistols, so, you know, I get it. 10% boost. Sure. And, like, are her pants ripped, or is she wearing shorts? What is going on here?
She's wearing shorts, and then there's the holster around her thigh.
Oh.
Like, it's like around her waist, and then it secures around her thigh.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Still weird. This doesn't look like a woman.
It does look like a woman.
I mean, it does. It suggests a woman. But not in the way of this blocky thing is a sex symbol.
I think it's more like, wow, video games can sort of look sexy. I don't know.
Again.
I mean, it's the standard of video games. It's not like, wow, all women pale in comparison to the polygonal boobs. It's like, in comparison to video games at the time, it's like, wow, look at those polygonal boobs.
These people hadn't seen Naked Mario.
Fair.
They
hadn't reached that point yet.
It's really hard to think about, because I just don't feel like I've super had this experience of thinking to myself, man, this game looks incredible, like, this game is groundbreaking, and then being able to go back and look at it years later and be like, nah, like, this looks pretty crappy. Like, I'm only really, for the first time, I feel like, anyway, with this PS4, having this opportunity to be like, wow, like, these graphics look so much better.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I missed that point in my consciousness where I was like, because I didn't really play too many video games in sort of the middle years of my college experience, or even too much in the latter half of high school. I sort of missed the period where I would have sort of started to be conscious of graphics on, like, the PS3 generation, in order enough to be able to... Because I'm playing PS3 games now, and I know they look bad. Right? I'm not having the same experience of, like, this looks great in 2007, and then being, like, now looking back and being like, wow, like, their mouths aren't moving right, or whatever.
What game are you talking about specifically?
I'm not talking about anything specifically. I mean, I'm talking a little bit about how, like, I mean, whatever, right? It's Talk This, so I'm talking about Kingdom Hearts, right? But, like, like, it's been cool to see how much better everything looks on the PS4, right? Or Spider-Man has been super cool to see how, like, awesome that looks on PS4. But I don't know. I'm always fascinated at, like, where is the graphical peak, right? How many more years will it take us to get to the point where video games can, if they want to, just, like, look like a movie?
I think we're already there, honestly.
Almost. They don't quite look like real people.
Some games do.
I know, but I don't think we're at the point where I could watch a video game, like, somebody...
Well, I don't think it'll ever be the point where you're like, wow, that's a real person, because it's still graphics, right?
Yeah.
If you want it to, like, wow, it's a real person, just make a game that uses live action footage.
No, I know that. I'm just saying, you know, now, if we're going to say that, okay, like, we've already hit our graphical peak, which we aren't, because I read that article about how, like, people can't put clothes on. So... That's
animation, though.
I know. I'm just saying, I think that there are still some things that video games can't do 100% realistically, and that's fine. We're probably within a decade, and that's really conservative, right?
See, what I'm saying, though, is that there's a difference between, like, oh, the camera cuts away because they can't show them putting on their clothes, and, like, what people look like, right? Like, there are animation things that are difficult, but in terms of, like, art and graphics alone, I think we're kind of coming up against that barrier.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, like, just, yes, they can do everything, you know? Like, you don't look at something and see them cut for clothes and you're like, oh, that's awful, you know? Like, that doesn't detract from the experience of the game. Like, if they put clothes on, you're like, wow, that's really cool. Yeah. But it doesn't go the other way, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I agree. What I'm just saying is, so it's this, like, bell curve, right? I feel like video game graphics are this kind of, the progression of them are this bell curve, right? Where for a while, like, you know, Tetris for another 20 to 30 years onward, right? They were just pixely and whatever, and there was not that much improvement. And then, like, the 90s to early 2000s, we have this, like, gigantic leap forward. And then we eventually, like, now we're in this kind of decline on the bell curve, where soon we're just going to be at that last, like, 2%. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This has gotten really away from what I was talking about, but the point being, it always fascinates me to talk about these old games and hear how people at the time really praise them for just how realistic they look and, like, what a step forward, purely in terms of graphics. Although in this case, it's also weird to hear about, like, a 3D action adventure game. Crazy. But it will be weird. I don't know if I will ever get to have an experience like someone who played the first Tomb Raider now looking back on it, right? anything to that extreme, because like we were talking about, I feel like video games are like, they've got like 3% more to hit peak graphic realism. Anyway, here's the big question for the Lady Video Game Podcast. Is Lara Croft a feminist symbol, or is she bad for women?
I mean, neither. I feel like the story of how she ended up in the game is kind of interesting, at least from the Wikipedia summary of it.
She was originally going to be Laura Cruz, which
No,
is
even
wild.
before that, though, they were designing a male character, and then they were like, actually, we should give players a choice, and then they were like, but that will make more cutscene work, and then the guy who designed them was like, but I like Lara better, so they decided to do her instead. And also, he mentioned, like, when he sees people playing Virtua Fighter, there were, like, 2 female characters in the game, but he would always see people picking those 2 female characters. Like, they wanted to play as them. So he was like, oh, well, I guess people want to play as females. What a revolutionary concept.
I feel like until the past couple of years, if there's any game where, like, anyone had a female protagonist, they were just like, yeah, like, we just did it. And, like, we weren't really thinking about it. We were just like, this one's gonna be a woman.
Yeah, actually, I was reading something entirely unrelated for a school project, but, like, Life is Strange, the first Life is Strange. Square Enix was the only publisher that Don't Nod took that to, who didn't want them to change it to a male protagonist.
Oh, I think we talked about that when we talked about Life is Strange, too.
That might be it, yeah. Yeah. So, like, that's not, like, there's some level of, there's still some level of, like, being privileged to be able to include a female protagonist. Like, you're a studio that has enough financial stability to not have to, like, go to a publisher and pitch your game or whatever, like you're self-publishing it or whatever. So that's still interesting to think about.
What's the name of that guy who wears the masks in the videos?
That is not specific enough.
The guy, he always wears a mask. He's a developer. He's
Yoko Taro.
Yeah, he talked about in that video you sent me too, like, why is it a woman? He's like, I don't know, they told me it should be a woman. Like, I didn't think about it. We just thought it looked better.
What game was that for?
I don't remember.
Which interviews did I send you? I sent you the one where he talked about 9/11 and the war in Iraq, about Drakengard 3.
Yeah, it was not the one where he was at the whiteboard being like, Persona's gonna, like,
was
Atlas
it the
is gonna
sock
kill
puppet
us.
one?
Yes, it was the sock puppet one. So go back and look. Pretty sure he talked to, like, they asked him about why someone was a woman. He was like, no reason.
Yeah, no, Yoko Taro is great. He has a lot of, his designs for, like, the Nier Automata characters, he was like, I don't know, they're pretty. They're like, why are the androids dressed this way? He's like, it looks cool. I think they look kind of pretty that way.
Yeah.
I was like, sure, yeah, why not? It's true. But yeah, he just sort of does his own thing. It's very interesting.
It's just fascinating how, like, Lara Croft is maybe, aside from, like, maybe Princess Peach, who, like, is she even a woman? Like...
Yes, Madelyn, come on.
Do people in the Mario world have gender?
Probably.
Have they evolved beyond that?
Probably.
Yeah. They're just like, I'm Waluigi. No, I was gonna get, I need to not get sidetracked. I was gonna get sidetracked. I need to not get sidetracked, even though it's on brand.
We probably need to transition.
Wait.
Point too.
But it's such a shame though, because she could have been like a Hispanic video game icon. Laura Cruz. I mean, not that she would have really been, right? They probably would have just given her that name, and she would have looked exactly the same. But
yeah, but they wanted to like put the more poshness into her, so they made her like a British lady.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Anyway. Tomb Raider. Which I've already seen described as a mashup of various games, like in other analysis. They're like, it's Mario meets Zelda meets Doom.
Tomb Raider is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It's like the platforming of Mario and the puzzling of Zelda.
Okay.
And the shooter of Doom.
Okay, that's a little more fair. Sure.
right? It's still a stretch, but yeah. Anyway, speaking of... No, I don't have any transition. Bendy and the Ink Machine!
Yes, Bendy and the Ink Machine is a episodic first-person
Puzzle action horror game.
Yes.
Reading right from Wikipedia. I love it.
Well, I was just doing that for the genres. But it came out... Well, the first episode came out in February of 2017, but it didn't fully come out until October of 2018. Hence, it falls neatly into our new games category, even though I was worried that it wouldn't. But it's developed by Kindly Beast, but it's under the name of the In-Universe Animation Studio, which is Joey Drew Studios, Inc. And it's about, you play as this guy, his name's Henry Stein, and he's a retired animator. And he returns to his old animation studio that is very heavily based on, like, old Disney cartoons. Like, the sort of Steamboat Willie style of Disney cartoons. And he finds that, like, cartoon characters have been brought to life by the titular ink machine. Most notably, Bendy, who was, like, their sort of Mickey Mouse-ish character, I guess, if you wanted to draw an analog.
Don't bring Mickey Mouse here.
And Bendy is sort of after him, and he encounters more characters also, some of which who want to help him, and some of which who do not want to help him. Yeah. So, yeah, and these are all, like, ink monsters. They're, like, you get, like, drowned in ink, and there's little ink creatures that you have to, like, hit, and sometimes you have to hide from the stalking Bendy and stuff like that.
It's like Scribblenauts, but scary.
Yes, sure.
I mean, the gameplay is not at all like that, but...
I was with you there, and then I thought about it, I was like, no, maybe not
like
quite.
Drawn to life, but scary.
Uh-huh. But yeah, it's been a real success for the studio.
In one of the interviews, he called it an accidental success.
Yeah.
Which is really funny, because it's like, did you not want your game to be a success?
No, I just don't think they were expecting it to be.
Right, but
like, it's an episodic game. It's weird. Like, you would, like, hope to get a little bit of traction, but it really exploded. Like, I remember, like, I sometimes watch, like, the React channel when I'm really bored, and they have, like, playthroughs of it on there, which is, like, you know, like, really
I'm not
mainstream.
saying it didn't, like, succeed beyond their wildest dreams, but there's a difference between that and it being an accidental success.
Okay, he picked a poor choice of words.
I know, I just think it's funny. Dude, be proud of yourself. It's not an accident. You made the game. The studio used to be called The Meatly, which I thought was super funny. How can you name a studio that?
I don't know.
How are you ever going to have anyone take you seriously? I mean, thank God they renamed it, but, like, how are you...
I don't know. There's a bunch of weird studio names out there.
The Meatly.
I'm sure you could find weirder ones.
But it just sounds gross.
I don't know. It is. You think, oh, maybe they made Super Meat Boy, and then you look at it.
Oh, that's fair. That's like but that's not a good way to name your company.
I know.
It just makes it sound like a pound of raw hamburger sitting at the computer while its code compiles.
Well, maybe that is what is happening.
Maybe. And you know what? Pound of raw hamburger, you should be proud of yourself. Don't put yourself down with words like accident.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's now on, like, consoles and everything, right? It's been ported by, I don't remember what studio. It was a studio I had heard of that had done all the porting, so they must be making it big now. They have Funko Pops, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Merchandise through Funko, which is wild.
Yeah.
I don't even have...
No, I mean, if you're... like, an indie game can really, like, sort of accidentally make it really big sometimes. I remember there's, like, a fad with, like, Hello Neighbor, and, what is it? Five Nights at Freddy's also is one that's like exploded.
Evidently, you can only make it big as an indie game, though, if it's a horror game.
Yeah, honestly, though. I mean, horror games are perfect fodder for people, like, who do, like, sort of YouTube channels and Twitch things. Especially if they do, like, one-off things. Because it's like, come laugh at me while I get scared, right? Or whatever. Yeah. So, like, horror games feed into that thing.
I also just feel like there aren't that many AAA games that are, like... There are games where you can tack horror on in, like, the 5 genre list, like you just gave for this one, right?
Yeah.
But I can't think of too many AAA games or prominent series that I would really, truly describe as horror, or as, like, actually scary.
Silent Hill.
Okay.
There's one. I mean, I don't know very... Fatal Frame. I remember we played that at Dad's once. Our granddad's.
I have no memory of Fatal Frame.
It really stuck out to me when I was a child.
Maybe I've repressed it.
I think it was Fatal Frame. You, like, take photos and they're ghosts or whatever. But there's a bunch of, like, little weird, like, Amnesia and, like, I don't know. Even Resident Evil you could call sort of a horror game.
I know Resident Evil obviously has horror somewhere in its multi-hyphenate genre, but come on. How scary is Resident Evil?
Well, people who've been playing Resident Evil 2 Remake would probably say have been saying it's scary. So.
Okay, fine. Fair enough. I just think that compared to, like, it would be hard to have a breakout action-adventure game, right? Just because you're up against some real big dogs.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not saying, like, I'm just saying there are horror games out there, but you're right that it's more of a open field than just standard action-adventure.
Yeah. Speaking of Hello Neighbor, they actually did a crossover with them.
Really?
Where the Hello Neighbor guy is, like, a villain.
The Hello Neighbor guy scares me a lot.
Yeah.
Like, just his face.
I will not play it.
No, it's supposed to be... Because I've heard it's kind of buggy, too. I think it's on our list, though, so we shouldn't talk about that one too much.
Great. I'll save it. Looking forward to it. Maybe if we do ever pull it on our list, I'll do a stream.
Okay.
I won't, but we'll do a video where we grab the highlights.
Okay.
That would be a lot. Anyway, what I was saying was, I'm shocked that they have Funkos when my beloved Persona 5 doesn't have Funkos yet.
They're getting them.
I know they are, but, like, these games came out at the same time.
They have Nendoroids for Persona 5.
Hush.
So that's, like, you know, a step up from Funkos.
Whatever.
A little bit.
Do you think I can afford a step up from Funkos?
They're pretty expensive. They're like $60 as opposed to like $20.
But they're not like a $60 action figure.
They're not like up there with like the really like figures. You know, those ones are a little more like $150. So they're the nice in between.
Anyway, speaking of gaming graphics. These ones are intentionally retro, right? As opposed to our Tomb Raider, which we were talking about, is like groundbreaking at the time, but now it looks kind of crappy. These ones are really trying to harken back to that 30s Steamboat Willie aesthetic that Emma just mentioned.
Yeah. Like, even, like, I feel like Boris, like, just looks like Goofy. Is one of the characters.
Yeah. Man, okay, spoiler.
Boris the wolf, like... Goofy's a dog, in case you didn't know.
Is Goofy a dog? Unclear.
He's some sort of dog-like
or
thing.
Or a
cow? Who knows? But he just looks like a little skinny kind of Goofy.
Okay, so spoiler alert, but frankly an important spoiler alert for your emotional well-being. I think you kill the dog.
Yeah, he gets, like, turned into a monster, and you have to kill him.
No thanks. I'll let the dog eat me.
But he's a goofy dog. He's not like a real dog.
Okay, do you remember the death of Goofy?
And there's also, like, a clone of him.
Yeah, don't even...
is named Tom.
Are you sure this isn't... what is it called? Timeless River?
I mean, that's the thing that it's based on.
No, I know that. But it's like, are you sure this literally isn't a description of Timeless River? Is Pete there?
No. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what all the characters look like. Boris stuck stick out to me as being like, well, that's just goofy.
Yeah.
But maybe there is a Pete-like character. Bendy doesn't particularly look like any of the Disney characters that I know. He looks more humanoid, but like cartoony.
So this game also, again, spoiler, but I don't think it'll affect anyone's enjoyment of the game, but spoilers for the very end of the game. This game makes use of the often utilized movie and television trope, but I feel like less frequently applied to video games trope of it was all a dream / story / etc.
Mm-hmm.
Because we see at the end that Joey Drew of the name Joey Drew Studios, which, by the way, if you have the last name Drew, do you like have to be an artist or an animator? Probably, right? I think about this sometimes of like when people have the appropriate last name for their job. I'm like, did they want to do this? Did they just feel like they had to because they couldn't miss their chance to take advantage of the name? Anyway, Joey Drew, who may or may not have become an animator just because he had the last name Drew, he like closes the book and it's all been a story that he's been telling to his niece.
But is it a true story though?
Well, yeah, I don't know.
You wouldn't tell your child niece that, yes, this really happened. You just use your stories of your own life to scare her.
Probably didn't really happen because I think he's like dead in the game.
He's just old.
Okay, but like bad things happen. Like what is it? What was it the head of? Yeah, the musical director at the studio is worshiping their mascot as a god.
Yeah. Apparently, like, there's some theories that, like, it's, like, metaphorical for, like, corruption and greed.
Sure. Or
specifically greed.
Right.
Like, it's all, like, him, like, obsessing over his company or whatever.
I get that, but also, it's like if someone was worshiping Mickey Mouse. It's very weird to think about.
I mean, Mickey Mouse is a god, so...
Stop. No spoilers.
Mickey Mouse ascends to the heavens and ends the world.
It's all a story Mickey Mouse has been telling the whole time.
To his niece.
No, to Huey, Dewey, and Louie, you idiot.
Those are his nephews. To his nephews. They're not his real nephews, though.
Hush.
He's stolen them from Donald.
Anyway, but it also introduces this weird meta aspect, because the game ends with like, oh, it was all a story, but then it's a game made by his studio.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if this company made this with, like, actual, like, about their actual studio?
What do you mean?
Like, can you imagine if, like, Reggie made a game like this?
About Nintendo, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not about a random studio.
I was like, Reggie can do whatever he wants. He's retired now. He can live the good life. He can make whatever games he wants to make.
Right, but, like, what if he was, like, he's gonna make a thing where he comes back to Nintendo and, like, Mario bites his head off?
I mean, he could. Like, they replaced him with a guy named Bowser. There's a lot of symbolic potential there if he wants to make a game. Reggie, we've got ideas.
Yeah.
We've got time.
This is not the mashup, but it could be.
We're always selling stuff here on Talk This, so
we're just giving away great IP. One day somebody's gonna make a game just like one of our games, and we're gonna be like, we really should have pitched that to someone in some other media.
Whatever, we can sue them.
Yeah,
we've got experience on our split screen series of identifying potential lawsuits. So
you better watch out, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Reggie has to kill Waluigi game. Waluigi's been turned into a god. I don't know. I'm just grabbing random elements at this point. It also has animated shorts. So that's cool.
Why not, you know?
I mean, it makes sense because the guy who came up with it, I think, is predominantly an animator. Like, he didn't know how to code. He had to get somebody else into code. which is wild. I mean, it's not wild. I don't know how to code, but it's crazy.
And that's how things usually work, right? Like somebody gets an idea and they're like, wait, I don't have any of these skills. And then they form their like little indie band by recruiting people.
I know, but it's not usually on the Wikipedia page.
Fair, I guess.
You know.
Although I feel like the development process of smaller, like from small teams is usually sometimes on the Wikipedia page.
No, I know that, but they're not usually like, yeah, like, Bill didn't know anything about how to use Unity because he's an idiot, so we had to get somebody else in here.
I don't think that's what it says on the Wikipedia page.
It isn't what it says, but that's what it makes it sound like.
Madelyn's editing it right now. Just to put more explicit words in the mouths of the Wikipedia people.
How long do you think it would stay there?
I don't know, Madelyn. We were doing, this is a little off topic, but for a project we were working on, like, adapting Candyland, and if you go to the Candyland Wikipedia page, there's a ton of, like, characters on there that are, like, super inappropriate that aren't real characters in Candyland. Because I was, like, looking at it, I was like, that can't be a real. Like, there's one that, like, I don't know, I think it's, like, smokes weed or something.
What?
I don't know. We could look at it later. But, yeah.
I'm looking at it now, but we should start mashing up.
Yeah. But, like, if the Wikipedia page, like, this one's more detailed, I think people go through it. But if it's not something people regularly visit, it can probably take a while before anybody notices.
Yeah. Oh, this is weird. These two seem made up.
They are.
Depresso?
That's not a real one.
They make it sound legit, though. They're like, he was removed in the 2010 version, and then after widespread outcrying and demand, was brought back for the 2013 edition. There's also someone who's... This is hilarious. These are blatant lies.
Somebody was just having fun on there.
But, like, some of them, the weed one isn't there anymore.
I might have invented that one. That was, like, an example.
You should write that in. I remember some of these. Like, Mr. Mint, I think, is real, but he sounds fake.
Mr. Mint is real.
Grandma... Anyway, okay, I need to stop. This has nothing to do with literally any... This is the most off-topic we have ever gone. Discussing Candyland characters.
Yeah, there's, like, Queen Frostine. She was renamed Queen Elsa after 2002 edition.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is true. I feel like some of the ones here are the ones that I remember are not here anymore, which is very sad.
Yeah. Plumpy sounds fake, but is real.
Okay. Anyway, how are we mashing up Tomb Raider and Bendy and the Ink Machine?
Okay, so obviously Lara Croft has to get an even more ridiculous, stylized boob job and go into, like, a cartoon to steal something.
The modern incarnation of Lara Croft has normal-looking boobs, actually.
Right, but the dude wouldn't even own up to the fact that it was because she was too sexualized. He was like, we just wanted to make her more realistic. It was all about realism. If you'll notice that her eyebrows and her lips were also super exaggerated.
I mean, she does look more, like, realistic now.
I know, but it's a lie! Own up to what you did!
They're not pointy anymore. So...
I'm just saying, own up to, like, take responsibility for what you did. It's okay that you made her super sexual. Just, like, admit it. Don't try to pretend like you were just trying to make her stylized, you frickin' man.
Oh, you mean it was the other way around? Like, they weren't talking about her modern design, they were talking about her original design?
Well, they were in the context of talking about the redesign. He was like, he was saying, like, oh, the goal was not to make her less sexualized, it was just to, like, make her look like a person. But then, like, he's, like, that's, like, sweeping under the rug the fact that they designed her to be super sexual in the first place.
Okay, but he's not saying that he didn't. He's just saying that now
right, but
she looks
then he started
more...
talking about, like, her face. As if anybody cares about the redesign of her face.
Well, her face does look different now.
You're on their side now.
I'm not as skeptical as you. I think that's, like, that might be, like, that might have come into it. But I'm sure in discussions they were like, we want her to look more realistic.
For sure. But he was playing it off as if she had never been designed with that kind of sexualization in mind.
I'll have to read it, because the words you're saying to me do not sound like he was doing that.
I'm probably not being charitable, but I don't know. Men.
Okay.
They aren't allowed on the... We only once have we allowed
So-
them on the podcast, and he talked way longer than he was supposed to.
I know.
So,
Like,
men.
yeah. So Lara Croft gets a letter saying, hey, we found these old ancient cave drawings. Can you come check them out with your archaeological expertise and your dual pistols? And she says, oh, sure, I will be over in a tip-top jiffy.
Good.
whatever British people say. Sorry, British people. And then she comes there and she sees that the cave drawings have come to life and are stalking her. And she must fight them off with her dual pistols.
Is that what we're calling them now?
I mean her literal dual handguns.
Just
I don't actually know if they're pistols. I'm just using those.
That was a joke.
Thing.
About...
I don't really know the difference between types of guns.
It was an inappropriate joke. It was not about the guns.
I know what you're doing, Madelyn. You don't have to implicate yourself, but you did, so.
But I did. No, I like that because it gets her into a cave, right? Which feels like Tomb Raider-y.
Yeah.
But
I went back, like, because I feel like if they were like, here's some 1930s cartoons, Lara Croft, she would be like, I do older stuff than that, you know?
Right.
So I went back to cave drawings.
How about this, though? Lara Croft is British.
Yes.
You know,
as I've demonstrated.
You know who else is British and often spends time inside drawings?
Who?
Mary Poppins!
Okay. Yes, Mary Poppins.
So, maybe it's still cave drawings, but I want her to, like, jump inside.
Oh, I see. To be like Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So instead she's in the world of the cave paintings.
Yes.
That look like 1930s cartoons.
No, they look like cave paintings. We
Okay.
can give her back her original pointy boob job.
Okay. She's like totally upscale graphics, like modern day graphics, but she has polygonal boobs. Just for tradition's sake.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't really know, like, what is she trying to steal? I don't know. I feel like this has gotten way too magical for the average Tomb Raider.
I mean, at least the new ones are pretty magical. Right. I don't know how magical the old ones were.
This is Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
Nonsense. Aliens.
Yeah, sure, aliens. But maybe someone was like, "Hey there, Lara. Like these. I need you to interpret these cave drawings. They seem like they're talking about like a treasure or like the golden what is it called? El Dorado or something like that.
Great.
Like some sort of golden city." And she's like, "Oh, that sounds like something that I could add to my estate." So she goes there, but to interpret the cave drawings appropriately, you have to actually go into the world of the cave drawings. But they don't like you there. They want to kill you.
Mm. Are there dinosaurs?
No. Or did we coexist with dinosaurs? No.
No.
Right? No.
Are there
meteor before then.
woolly mammoths?
Sure.
Do you
I
have
feel like
to
that was
kill your companion woolly mammoth at some point?
probably
Cool.
Lara
Maybe
Croft.
it's more like Lara Croft is instituting, like she's breaking into an art museum for some noble reason. I don't know. And she has to like jump into various paintings.
I don't know why she would be breaking into an art museum though. She's not just like a thief. She's like ostensibly an archaeologist. Right?
Because,
she's just a bad one.
She's helping some indigenous people recover art that was theirs, but that was, colonially snatched from them by the British government.
That doesn't sound like her to me.
It's a new woke Lara Croft.
Okay, we're reinterpreting her again to now be woke as opposed to stealing stuff and whatever.
Also,
okay.
It's scary.
What?
Also, it's scary.
Yeah, also it's a horror game now. We're leaning right into Resident Evil, sort of.
Yeah, I know. We have just created Resident Evil with some picture
but
drawing.
with dual pistols and some cave drawings.
Yeah.
And no zombies.
Yeah.
Or whatever they
Probably
are.
the cave drawings coming to life is the best option.
Okay.
It just feels boring. No offense.
I mean, that's a lot of fun opportunities to at least look cool.
That's true. What is the end game, though?
She finds the Golden City and adds it to her state. I don't know. How do the old Tomb Raider games end?
I don't know.
What does she do? I know about them and generally what gameplay is, but I could not tell you the plot.
Oh my god, I have Candyland open instead of my Tomb Raider research.
The first one, she goes into a pyramid changer, and there's mutants and somebody's the ruler of Atlantis.
Great.
But she defeats a mutant, destroys the Scion, kills the mutated and winged Natla, and escapes the island by Natla's boat. So clearly some stuff happens.
It's for real. Okay, then I guess it's fine that she just defeats the ultimate cave ruler.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, she does. And then she makes a daring do escape on a boat.
Amazing. When the next Tomb Raider has this exact plot, we will sue.
Yeah, we will. We're coming for you, Squeenix. Eidos.
We will accept payment in the form of a detailed explanation of everything in the Kingdom Hearts universe.
We will accept a direct line to Tetsuya Nomura's ear and also his brain.
I don't think I want that. That's a horror game on itself.
Fair. True enough.
So, folks, that's been this week's episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
While Emma is prepping the games in our hat, let me tell you more about how you can learn more about the podcast and all its associated media. So if you like the show, you should follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as Talk This Podcast, and we're on YouTube as Talk This Sisters. So follow us there. I've been posting a bunch of cartoony stuff lately. Emma's got a new video on YouTube. It's exciting times to be a social media follower of Talk This. You should also check out our website, www.talkthispodcast.com, where you can read more about the show, see the games in the hat, read more about us, and check out our blog, which predominantly features long-running series Clickbait Boyfriend, where my boyfriend is playing through the Kingdom Hearts series, and Split Screen, where Emma and I settle down into the off-topic corner to talk about and watch, because that's an important part of talking about it, My Hero Academia and Boys Over Flowers. But there are other series there too, always new stuff going up on the blog, so definitely give those a read. If you like the show in particular, well, make sure you never miss an episode and subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Pandora coming soon, and anywhere that podcasts are provided. So subscribe, leave us a rating and a review while you're there. That always brightens our day. And without any further ado, Emma, let's pick some games for our next full episode.
Okay, well, our old game is Gauntlet.
Ah! Oh man, I had forgotten about Gauntlet.
Yeah, well now you haven't.
Dark Legacy.
Yeah.
That's not the one we're talking about, but whatever.
I'm sure both of them are more than 10 years old.
I'm sure
so
all
we can
of the
talk
Gauntlets
about
are.
whatever.
What happened to Gauntlet? Man. Okay, I'm excited for this one.
And for our new game, we are talking about Frostpunk.
Cool.
You'll have to look it up.
Get it?
Because clearly Madelyn knows exactly
It was
what
a joke.
It is.
I know what it is, but it has Frost in the name, so I said it was cool.
Yeah, she's very funny. So tune in for that. But next week, first, we'll have a side quest, as usual. So look forward to that, too.
So, Emma, shall I do our sign-off this week?
Sure, go ahead.
Folks, I hope you have a week where your graphical specifications are exactly to your liking.